Hello, well today I'm at Freiston Shore, a nature reserve situated some 4 miles east from the town of Boston. It has an interesting history and I'm looking forward to exploring the area. Now Freiston is a place I've been aware of for many years, mainly because it has a few interesting legends attached to it. This is the first time I've been here. This track is pretty long, so I'll see you when we get there. And as you can see, it's bleak and beautiful. Now from here you get an excellent view of the estuary that provides a home for a variety of birds, but today there's just a lonely looking swan. Now looking around, it's hard to imagine that the surrounding coastline with its brackish marshes and lagoons once looked very different. Now Freiston Shore was a popular bathing resort in the 19th century. There was horse racing on the beach and all kinds of sporting events, and 2 hotels were built to accommodate the tourists. The resort was one of the earliest and most popular bathing beaches in Lincolnshire. It attracted visitors from cities such as Nottingham and Leicester, and with the expansion of the railways there were plans to build a line to Freiston Shore, and there was even talk of building a pier. However, due to coastal accretion, the sandy beach slowly began to disappear and was replaced by salt marshes and lagoons. As a result, tourism dwindled and the end of the resort was made a certainty by rail links to the burgeoning resort towns of Skegness and Mablethorpe. But more changes were to come. During the Second World War, Freiston Shore formed part of a chain of coastal defences. Small fortified structures known as pillboxes were hastily built to prevent an anticipated German invasion after the fall of France in 1940. And the remains of these fortifications are still dotted around Freiston Shore. Well, it appears you can still get inside. These openings are the loopholes through which the soldiers could fire. Now they're much like the arrow slits that you see in castles that protected medieval archers when defending the castle. Now there are more impressive defences a little further on, so I'll see you there. Now this concrete structure used to house the artillery Searchlight. It was used in the war to inspect ships approaching Boston at night. Now, according to what I've read, there used to be a room at the back that housed the crew. It was accessed by a flight of stairs which appear to have gone. Now apparently this contraption has nothing to do with the defences. It's a fuel tank that was installed by a local farmer after the war. Now apparently this is known as a Lincolnshire 3-bay pillbox. It has a machine gun mount on the roof to shoot down enemy aircraft. Ah, we have a door. Well, I don't know if the camera's picking this up, but it's full of thick brown sludge. Well, I hope it's sludge. No, there's no way I'm going in there. Now I'm heading for the gun house and the engine room. I've seen photos of them online, and I'm really looking forward to having a wander around. This is the gun house, and you can see the 24 bolt emplacement or holdfast for the massive 6-inch naval gun. Now it's worth pointing out that the defences were built on the sea wall and the guns were pointed out to sea, but due to the reclamation of the salt marshes, they are now a long way from the shoreline. Okay, let's have a wander. Now, according to records, the gun emplacements here at Freiston were camouflaged to look like houses, and the camouflage was still in place well into the mid-1950s. How ingenious. Now, forgive me, but I can't remember if this is the crew shelter or the ammunition store. But it's very clean. There's no ubiquitous graffiti, so I'm sure someone must look after this place. It's hard to imagine now what this place would have been like in 1940. Soldiers bravely waiting to fight an invasion that thankfully didn't happen. Now this small structure is the generator building. Now I read that the door was too small for the generator, so they had to chop big chunks out of the door just to get it in here. These old fortifications are in very good condition. I'm sure someone looks after them. They're possibly listed, but I don't know that for sure. That certainly can't be said, however, of the next building I'm going to visit. Now, I mentioned earlier that back when it was a resort town, Freiston had 2 hotels. The Plumbers Hotel is still here, and it's a Grade 2 listed building. Unfortunately, the same cannot be said for the Marine Hotel. Well, here it is, the former Marine Hotel. And it's certainly seen better days. Now, unlike the Plumbers Hotel, the Marine has just been left to rot. It was built in the late 18th century specifically for the seaside trade, and apparently it is thought to have been used in the war to provide accommodation for the soldiers defending the Freiston battery. Now, the Marine was originally known as the Anchor, but it's renamed in 1856, and it closed on the 2nd of December 1959 or 1967. I don't know what that is, but I'm more interested in going to Freiston Church. Well, Sean, you bold, ruggedly handsome explorer, I hear you say. Where are the ghosts and legends? Well, just bear with me. This is the village of Freiston. It's about a mile from Freiston Shore. I'm going to cross the road and have a look around St James Church. The church is 13th century and it was formerly the church of Freiston Priory, and there's an interesting legend connected to the font, so I hope the church is open so we can see it. Hello. Well, that's an interesting way of keeping the grass down. As you can see, it's a very long path, so I'll see you when we get there. Oh. Well, unfortunately, the church is locked. Now, it's a pity that we can't go into the church because I wanted to show you an elaborately carved font. And the story goes that it was created by the young apprentice of a master craftsman. Now, when the craftsman saw the work of his young apprentice, he was so jealous that he flew into a rage and he murdered his apprentice upon the spot. And it's said that the ghost of the apprentice haunts the lanes around the church. Hello. Hello there.
Do you need to look in?
I wouldn't mind if that's okay. That's great, thank you.
Are you just visiting the area, or are you?
Yes, I just having a look around. I'm interested in old churches. Oh, that's brilliant, thank you. Now, as you've just seen, the verger has turned up to feed the sheep, and she's kindly unlocked the church for me to have a look around. This is the font with its ornate cover. It dates from the 15th century and it was originally gilded. It's only one of several which have survived in England. Now, the legend attached to the font here in Freiston is also associated with other churches in Europe, which I explain in my video Medieval Mysteries from Lincoln Cathedral. So, if you want to know more, then I strongly advise you to go and watch it. Now, the roof of the church is magnificent. There is so much detail. It has 17 carved roof angels and bosses. Now, my camera isn't good enough to show you, so I will insert a few photos at this point. Now, the house across the field is the former vicarage, and it was built on the site of Freiston Priory. It used to belong to John Linton, a local landowner who was described as a man of ready action and strong wit. For example, when his orchards were repeatedly robbed, Linton set up a man-trap in which he had placed an amputated human leg that he'd obtained from a local surgeon. He asked for the person who had lost their leg to come forth and claim it. No one did, of course, and no one robbed his orchard thereafter. This is Spittal Hill in Freiston. According to legend, if I was to walk this road at midnight, then I'll be taking one hell of a risk. There is a curious superstition relative to a place in the parish of Freiston called Spittal Hill, from a hospital which was formerly there, that a hobgoblin or sprite frequents the spot at midnight in the shape of a small rough horse. This sprite has been named the Spittal Hill Tut, and sometimes the Shagfoal. It is said to have frequently followed a traveller, mounted his horse behind him, and almost hugged him to death with its forelegs. It accompanies him to a certain distance and then vanishes. Different causes are assigned for this appearance by those who believe it. One is that a murder was committed near the spot where the shagfoal appears. Another, that a treasure is secreted there, and that this hobgoblin is appointed to watch over and protect it. Spittle Hill is thought to be the site of a hospital for the Benedictine monks of Freiston Priory, and as you can see, it's not the lonely coast road that it once was. Its ghost, the terrifying Spittle Hill Tut, tut being an old Lincolnshire word for ghost, was most likely a tale put about by local smugglers to keep people off the road at night. Well, that was my walk around Freiston and Freiston Shore, Lincolnshire's first seaside resort. If you've made it this far, then as usual, thanks ever so much for joining me, and I hope you join me again for more history and mystery on my next adventure.